Welcome to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today we're diving into something really critical for accomplished executives. It's about how you can transform decades of that hard-won wisdom into a powerful teaching platform. Imagine extending your influence way beyond the boardroom, shaping the next generation of leaders. It's not just an interesting idea anymore, it's rapidly becoming, well, almost an imperative.
That's exactly right. I mean, when you really look at it, teaching is probably the ultimate way to scale your impact as an executive. All those insights you've gathered over the years, navigating tough markets, building great teams, making those critical calls, they don't just disappear, they become a renewable resource. And the market, it totally reflects this. The executive education program market isn't just growing, it's projected to absolutely explode. We're talking from about USD 9.8 billion in 2025 to a massive USD 28.3 billion by 2035.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. Globally, that's a compound annual growth rate of 11.2%. This isn't just some vague forecast. It's a really clear signal that the market is, starving for that unique blend of real-world wisdom and practical application, the kind only seasoned executives can genuinely provide. AI can process tons of data, sure, but it just can't replicate human wisdom or that battle-tested experience.
And the brilliant mind really guiding this deep dive today is Laura Johnson. She's the CEO of LLEJ Careers, LLC, and the creator behind Your Executive Advantage. Laura really specializes in helping those distinguished C-suite leaders navigate the big strategic career shifts and, importantly, craft authentic personal brands that truly resonate. And Your Executive Advantage, just so you know, is a top-tier Substack publication. It's also an exclusive community for leaders who are really looking for sophisticated frameworks, not just the usual surface-level career advice. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really distill the core insights from her incredibly valuable work, specifically for you, our listener.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Why is building a teaching platform such a strategic imperative right now?
Well, it really boils down to what some are calling the knowledge transfer crisis. Think about it. You have all these highly seasoned executives nearing retirement, and with them, decades of invaluable institutional knowledge. Navigating recessions, handling PR crises, building global teams, it's all at risk of just walking out the door.
Right. Exactly. And at the very same time, you've got these mid-level leaders. They're actually set to dominate the leadership development segment, about 28.5%, and they are actively hungry for practical, experience-based guidance. They need the kind of advice that, frankly, traditional academic programs often can't quite deliver in the same way. So executives who step in and bridge this critical gap through teaching platforms, they don't just preserve knowledge, they scale their influence exponentially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what's really fascinating here is that customized programs are projected to grab almost 60%, 58.3% to be exact, of the market share, which tells you the one-size-fits-all approach, it's out. Personalized, tailored guidance is definitely in.
So it's not just about what we know, but really how we transfer it effectively, especially considering how leadership demands are changing so fast today. Are there common mistakes executives make when they try to translate all that deep knowledge into something teachable, maybe focusing too much on theory and not enough on the how-to?
That's a really excellent point. Yeah. A common misstep is just assuming that what worked brilliantly in their specific corporate role will automatically translate into an engaging teaching method. It often doesn't. Plus, the leadership skills needed today, they're dramatically different from even just 10 years ago. This shift is really fueling the demand for educators who can translate those, let's call them traditional executive competencies, into very contemporary contexts. It's about distilling experience into actionable frameworks people can use now.
Okay, making it relevant for today's challenges.
Precisely. And if you look at the market dynamics, you see some interesting trends. Hybrid formats, they account for over 40% of delivery. And asynchronous learning, learning on your own time makes up nearly a third of total instruction time.
So flexibility is huge.
Huge. People want learning that fits their schedule. There's also this rising demand for authentic, experience-based learning over purely theoretical stuff. And globally, there's a strong lean towards peer-to-peer learning and very practical application. It's less about being lectured at, and much more about learning with others and doing.
That really paints a clear picture, a market that's hungry for real experience and practical application. So, okay, for our listeners who are thinking, all right, I'm ready, I want to respond to that demand, what are the concrete avenues, the actual pathways to turn decades of knowledge into a teaching legacy?
Right. The source material lays out 5 really powerful strategic opportunities. The first one is, well, maybe the most prestigious, executive education programs in universities and corporations. This path involves partnering directly with established institutions. Places like Harvard's Division of Continuing Education, they are actively seeking instructors, specifically experts with substantial industry experience, people who can translate that into genuinely world-class learning. Think about things like adjunct instructor positions at top business schools or corporate university partnerships, even executive and residence programs. You can also start smaller, maybe with guest lecture series. Those often lead to more ongoing roles down the line.
That definitely sounds like a highly credible path. Is there maybe a common misconception about breaking into those university partnerships? Or is there a specific type of executive this path is really best suited for?
Yeah, a common misconception is that you absolutely need a PhD or, extensive academic teaching credentials. While that can be helpful, it's often not the primary requirement. Many top institutions are specifically looking for real-world practitioners, people who bring immediate relevance from the field. The key advice here is to maybe build up a teaching portfolio first. Do some smaller speaking gigs, run some workshops. They often want to see at least 2 teaching evaluations, ideally from previous executive VAL programs or similar workshops. So you got to build that proof.
Right, demonstrate you can actually teach effectively.
Exactly. And this path, it's particularly well suited for executives who maybe thrive in a more structured, formal learning environment and actually enjoy shaping curriculum with that academic rigor.
Got it. What's next?
Okay. The second strategic path is to build a speaking platform around your expertise. This is really about transforming your deep industry knowledge into a sought-after speaking practice. And consider this. The global, massive, open online course market, MOOCs, platforms like Coursera, EDX.
Yeah, I know those.
That market is projected to grow by an astounding 37.7% annually from 2024 to 2030.
Wow, 37.7% annual growth. That's incredible.
It's a massive, undeniable signal of this huge appetite for accessible educational content. So the strategy here involves developing a unique signature topic, something that really sits at the intersection of your unique experience and a clear market need. Then registering with speaking bureaus, syndicating your core content into different presentation formats, and crucially, digital amplification. Things like video content, thought leadership articles, building your visibility online.
That MOOC growth figure is genuinely eye-opening. Okay, so if someone's looking to build that speaking platform, how do they bridge the gap, say, from delivering a great keynote to actually creating content for something like a Coursera course? Is that a totally different skill set, or?
That's a great question, and it leads perfectly into the third path, which is creating online courses and educational content. It definitely builds directly on the principles of a speaking platform, but it's just delivered in a more structured, often asynchronous format. Think about Duolingo, for example. It had something like 89 million visits in just under 2 years.
Okay, huge engagement.
Right. Now, obviously, language learning is different, but it just underscores the enormous appetite for digital learning experiences. For executives, the content creation framework might involve things like micro-learning modules, focused 15 to 20-minute sessions tackling specific leadership challenges, or building case study libraries using anonymized but real-world scenarios from your career.
Breaking it down into digestible chunks.
Exactly. It's all about breaking down that complex wisdom into actionable, easily consumable pieces. You'd also want interactive assessments so learners can apply the concepts and maybe even build in peer learning component to foster that executive networking within your course community.
That makes so much sense, breaking it down like that, especially for busy executive learners. What about a more, let's say, traditional route that also builds significant credibility?
That brings us nicely to the fourth path, writing your business book. A really well-crafted business book serves as both a powerful credibility builder and an adaptable curriculum foundation. It's huge. It positions you as a genuine thought leader while simultaneously creating core content that you can then leverage across multiple teaching platforms.
So it's not just about getting your name on a cover.
No, not at all. Strategic book development isn't just writing down everything you know. It involves taking a framework-based approach. You develop proprietary methodologies or models that can then be taught. You structure chapters so they translate directly into course modules or workshop sessions. You integrate compelling real-world case studies to bring your concepts to life. And then, crucially, you use the book as a platform springboard, a tool to secure speaking engagements, consulting gigs, and other teaching opportunities. It really is a foundational asset.
Right, so the book isn't just the end product. It's actually the launch pad for potentially everything else. Okay, we've covered universities, speaking, online courses, books. What about a really high-touch, highly interactive way to engage directly with leaders? Maybe something with more immediate revenue potential.
That would absolutely be the fifth and final strategic path mentioned. Developing workshop and seminar offerings. These are those high-touch, immersive learning experiences. They typically command premium pricing because of the direct access and interaction. And they're fantastic for building deep, lasting relationships with emerging leaders. There's a really strong demand for this kind of direct mentorship and interaction.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, a recent study noted that 82% of women believe that networking with female leaders will help them advance in their careers.
Wow, 82%.
Yeah, it highlights the real need for these tailored, experiential learning environments where people can connect directly. So when designing these workshops, the principals should really prioritize experiential learning. Move beyond just lectures into hands-on problem solving. You want to facilitate rich peer interaction, make sure every session concludes with specific actionable plans, and critically, build in some kind of follow-up support. That helps cement the learning and creates that long-term impact and relationship.
Okay, 5 distinct paths, each with its own dynamics. So what does this all really mean for you if you're listening and seriously considering embarking on this journey? What's the strategic framework? How do you actually make this happen?
Right, the how-to. Laura Johnson's work provides a really comprehensive teaching platform strategy framework, and it's broken down into clear phases. Phase 1 is expertise packaging and curriculum development. This typically spans the first, say, 1 to 3 months. Core activities here are really thorough knowledge audit. What are your most valuable, teachable insights? Market research, where are the gaps in current executive education, designing that initial modular curriculum, and importantly, pilot testing small-scale workshops to get feedback and refine your approach.
Okay, laying the groundwork.
Exactly, and the success metrics for this phase are pretty clear. You want to aim for developing maybe 3 to 5 core teaching modules, getting positive feedback scores, ideally 4.5 or higher from those pilot participants, and being able to articulate a crystal clear value proposition for what you offer. Then you move into phase 2, platform registration and positioning. This is roughly months 4 to 6. Here, the focus shifts to strategic initiatives like submitting applications to established speaking bureaus, actively reaching out to target executive education programs for potential university partnerships, developing your professional online presence, a website, maybe a content library, and consciously building social proof by gathering testimonials in those teaching evaluations we talked about.
Building credibility and visibility.
Precisely. By the end of this phase, the goal would be to have secured representation with a speaking bureau, initiated contact or discussions with at least 2 potential university partners, and completed a really robust professional teaching portfolio.
That's a genuinely comprehensive roadmap. It sounds great on paper, but what's maybe the biggest hurdle or unforeseen challenge executives typically face when they try to implement even just phase 1, getting started? And how can they best prepare for it?
That's a very practical question. I think one of the biggest hurdles, honestly, is often the distillation of their knowledge. Executives are brilliant at navigating complexity, making high-level decisions. But teaching requires breaking all that down into understandable, repeatable frameworks that others can grasp and apply. The challenge is often moving from "I intuitively know this" to "I can clearly articulate and teach this effectively to others."
Right, the knowing-doing gap, but for teaching.
Kind of, yeah. Preparation really involves rigorous self-reflection. You need to really think hard about what problems your specific experience solves for other leaders, not just recounting what you did. It requires a shift in perspective.
Okay, that makes sense. So after positioning
Comes phase 3, educational partnership opportunities. This covers roughly months 7 to 12. This phase is all about expansion. It means actively developing relationships with target corporate partners for internal training, forming alliances with professional associations to deliver content to their members, securing speaking slots at major industry conferences, and maybe even connecting with rising leaders through formal or informal mentor matching programs related to your teaching.
Really scaling the reach.
Exactly. And the success metrics here start to show real traction, hitting maybe $50,000 or more in teaching-related revenue, establishing 3 or more ongoing institutional partnerships, corporate or academic, and ideally building a waiting list for your programs or workshops.
And phase 4.
Phase 4 is the content creation and distribution plan, and this is really an ongoing optimization phase. It never truly ends. It means constantly refining your core material for different formats, maybe developing more advanced digital courses, potentially getting that book published if you went that route, and consistently reinforcing your thought leadership through things like media appearances, podcasts, articles, keeping the momentum going.
That's a lot to take in,
Yeah.
but incredibly valuable structure. Now, you might be listening and wondering, okay, where do I even begin with all this? It sounds like a multi-year plan. What are some quick wins? Things I can implement right now, say within the next month or two?
Excellent question. And yes, there are absolutely some fantastic quick win strategies for immediate impact you can tackle within, say, 30 to 60 days. Let's break it down. In weeks 1 to 2, focus on laying that foundation. Really audit your expertise. What are 2-3 unique topics you could genuinely teach? Then research the market need. Analyze maybe 5 existing executive education programs in your niche. What are the gaps you could fill? And draft your professional bio, but specifically focused on your teaching potential and expertise.
Okay, practical first steps.
Exactly. Then, weeks 3-4, start that crucial outreach. Email, say, 3 local business schools or universities. Just inquire about guest lecture opportunities or adjunct possibilities. Join relevant professional associations and actively participate online or in person. Many host educational events. And crucially, start creating content now. Publish maybe 2 LinkedIn articles showcasing your unique perspective on your chosen teaching topic.
Getting your name and ideas out there.
Right. Now, weeks 5-6, put it to the test. Host a small informal practice workshop. Invite maybe 6 to 8 trusted colleagues or contacts for a focused 2-hour session on one of your core topics. And the crucial part, collect structured feedback using actual evaluation forms. Don't just ask, how was it? Then rigorously refine your content and delivery based on their specific input. This is where you iron out the kinks fast.
Okay, test and iterate early.
Absolutely. Finally, weeks 7-8, start scaling slightly. Apply to maybe 2 or 3 relevant speaking agencies or bureaus in your industry. Schedule virtual coffee meetings with a couple of current executive educators, people already doing what you want to do. Ask for their advice, network, and document your core teaching methodology or framework as a concise, maybe 1-page summary. This helps you articulate your unique approach clearly.
Those are really tangible actions anyone could start. And what does this look like, maybe longer term, say 12 to 18 months down the road, building on these quick wins?
Yeah, the long-term development roadmap over 12 to 18 months really builds directly on these initial steps. It's about securing those first few paid teaching opportunities, building out a more robust digital presence, website, social media, actually launching your first online course or 2, getting that book published if it's part of your strategy, securing more significant speaking engagements, and developing those recurring corporate training partnerships for sustainable income. It's about building a truly robust and sustainable platform that grows over time.
Now, inevitably, the practical question for many listening will be, what's the actual revenue potential here? Is this just a fulfilling side project, or can building these platforms be a truly viable next chapter, financially speaking?
It can absolutely be a viable and potentially quite lucrative next chapter. The source material provides a revenue model for educational services with some pretty concrete examples. Let's look at some ranges. For workshop and seminar pricing, you might see half-day workshops priced anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. A full-day intensive could be $5,000 to $10,000. And multi-day executive programs, those can command $15,000 to $25,000 or even more.
Okay, significant figures for direct engagement.
Definitely. Then you have speaking engagement rates. Keynote presentations often range from $7,500 to $15,000 plus travel. Panel discussions might be $3,000 to $7,500, and delivering corporate workshops, depending on length and customization, often brings in $10,000 to $20,000.
All right.
Online course revenue also has strong potential. Premium pricing for individual enrollments could be anywhere from, say, $497 up to $1,997 per participant, depending on the depth and support. You can also explore corporate licensing deals, maybe $5,000 to $15,000 per company for team access, or even develop certification programs, which could range from $2,500 to $5,000 per person.
Wow, multiple streams there.
Exactly. And finally, university partnership compensation. This varies widely, but adjunct instructor roles might pay $3,000 to $8,000 per course. An executive in residence position could be $25,000 to $75,000 annually, often part-time. And if you're hired to develop a specific curriculum, that could be a project fee of $15,000 to $50,000.
So the financial potential is clearly there across different models.
It is. And beyond just the direct revenue, the source also highlights key metrics for measuring success. Things like teaching effectiveness, aiming for high participant satisfaction, maybe 4.7 plus out of 5, and ensuring, say, 85% feel they gained actionable insights. For business impact, you might track annual revenue growth from teaching, aiming for 25% plus for the number of executives reached, maybe 500 plus annually by your second year. And then there are those invaluable legacy building metrics, tracking the career advancement of your program alumni, seeing your frameworks adopted by leading organizations. That's the deeper impact.
Wow, those are impressive numbers and metrics. It really drives home that this isn't just, a passion project. It can be a truly viable and rewarding next chapter, financially speaking. But stepping back from the balance sheet for a moment, beyond those impressive figures, what's the more profound, maybe less tangible impact of doing this kind of work?
That's a great question, because there's this unexpected power of cross-generational teaching that emerges. These teaching platforms naturally create mentorship opportunities, often bridging gaps between generations and different backgrounds. They provide access to wisdom that might otherwise stay locked away in senior leadership meetings or boardrooms. I mean, imagine the impact of having a seasoned CEO openly share their personal experience navigating, say, the 2008 financial crisis with a group of rising mid-level managers who are maybe facing their first major economic downturn.
Invaluable perspective.
Absolutely. And this benefits everyone. Executive education programs get more diverse faculty with varied, real-world industry experience. Corporate leadership development programs get authentic voices sharing practical lessons. Speaking circuits gain credibility by featuring leaders who truly represent the full spectrum of business experience and challenges. Your frameworks, the ones you honed over decades, they suddenly become accessible to emerging leaders who might never otherwise get direct access to that level of senior executive mentorship. It helps create a more robust, maybe more inclusive understanding of what effective leadership actually looks like in practice. It's really about opening doors and sharing pathways forward.
It sounds like it's really about building a legacy that extends far beyond your own corner office or your tenure at a company. You're shaping not just a business's future, but the actual people who will lead those businesses into the future.
Precisely. That's the core of it. The transition from executive to educator isn't really stepping down. In many ways, it's stepping up to your highest form of potential impact. While others might see retirement on the horizon as an ending, you can see it as this incredible opportunity to scale your influence far beyond anything possible within the confines of just one single organization. Your decades of experience, your battle-tested frameworks, your hard-won wisdom, all of that is incredibly valuable intellectual property in a market that we've established is hungry, genuinely hungry for authentic practical guidance.
And that market's set to boom.
Exactly. Remember, those numbers surging from nearly $10 billion to over $28 billion. That massive growth isn't just going to happen. It will be driven by executives like potentially you listening now who refuse to let their knowledge simply retire when they do. The teaching platform you start building today becomes a professional legacy that genuinely outlasts any title or corner office. It creates these vital bridges between where you've been, the challenges you've overcome, and where the next generation of leaders needs to go. And that includes, importantly, the rising women leaders who absolutely represent the future of business globally. Your influence truly doesn't have to end when your executive tenure does. Through teaching, in many ways, it's just getting started.
What an absolutely incredible deep dive into transforming a lifetime of executive experience into such a powerful teaching platform. We've really covered the waterfront here, from the core strategic imperative and that massive market opportunity through the 5 distinct paths you can actually take, the detailed strategic framework, those quick win strategies for immediate impact, and even the impressive financial potential. It's so clear that your experience isn't just something for your resume. It's a truly valuable, marketable asset for shaping the future.
And maybe this raises an important final question for you to consider. If your influence doesn't have to end when your main executive tenure does, what kind of bridges will you choose to build for the next generation? And ultimately, what will your teaching legacy look like?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.